enter our country.
The migrants that are coming, they're taking over every block right now.
The city of Chicago is gonna go up in smoke, it's gonna go up in flames.
Gangs in Chicago are angry over the influx of migrants and criminals in their city. They say money that should be going to the African American community on the South Side is instead going to what they call non-citizens, and warn that turf wars between Chicago's gangs and groups like Venezuela's Tren de Aragua could see Chicago, quote, go up in flames. Photographer Matt McDermott and I traveled to Chicago's South Side to see what was happening for ourselves after we heard about a police report last month that the Tren de Aragua gang had taken over an office building there. We spoke to a number of young, hardcore gang members, as well as gang elders who have retired from the life, and just regular citizens who are very much part of the community. And they're all furious at the estimated $500 million that's reportedly been funneled toward new migrants in Chicago since 2022. And they aren't happy either about what they say are Venezuelan criminal gangs that are leaving the shelters and spilling out into the South Side into abandoned buildings. I spoke to Tyrone Muhammad of Ex-Cons for Trump, who runs a street patrol and violence prevention program. He's gone straight since his days as an enforcer for the Gangster Disciples. And he said the situation is very tense on the South Side as turf battles between the local gangs and Venezuelan migrants heat up.
It is impossible to release gang members and criminals into our country through the borders and broken walls, and then infiltrate them in our community that's already impoverished, that's already broken, that's already disinvested. And when the black gangs, the leadership in the black gangs in Chicago get fed up with the illegalities and the criminal activity of these migrants or non-citizens, the city of Chicago is gonna go up in smoke, it's gonna go up in flame, and it's gonna be nothing that the National Guard or our government can do about it when the bloodshed hit the streets.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're all having a great and wonderful day. Well, we have some crazy things going on here. We're going to have, I guess World War III is starting, so there's that. But we're going to talk about that in the next video. Right now, I'm going to be talking about Chicago, where it is most potentially going to go up in flames. It is most likely going to be a very bloody bloodshed of, just death and mayhem and destruction, because, of course, Kamala Harris doesn't see the ramifications of the issues that's been going on there across the other part of this country. So we'll be seeing how that goes and all that great stuff. So without further ado, guys, we're getting directly into this. So, what we have here is that Chicago gangbangers rage against newly arrived Venezuelan migrants as Tren de Aragua moves in. City is going to go up in flames. After serving 20 years in state prison for murder, former gangbanger Tyrone Muhammad never expected to return to the city's tough South Side and find Venezuelan migrants and the criminal Tren de Aragua gang moving in. But Muhammad, 23, who's gone straight and runs a street patrol and violence prevention program called Ex-Cons for Community and Social Change, says Venezuelan criminal gangs flooding shelters and taking over apartment buildings are the last straw for the struggling African community. He says they are furious at seeing government money going to what they call non-citizens. It is possible to release gang members and criminals into our country that the borders and broken walls and infiltrate them in our community that's already impoverished and broken. Muhammad told the Post last week in the O Block, a stretch along South King Drive that's considered the most dangerous in the city. When the black gangs get fed up with the illegalities and criminal activities of these migrants or non-citizens, the city of Chicago is going to go up in flames, and there will be nothing the National Guard or the government can do about it when the bloodshed hits the streets. It'll be blacks against migrants. The latest figures show Chicago has spent almost $500 million over the last 2 years on the more than 42,000 migrants who arrived in 2022, since 2022. Many have been given money for rent, food stamps, and even cars. And some landlords have pushed out African Americans because they can get more government money for housing migrants. Some belong to the one-time Venezuelan prison gang turned vicious multinational crime syndicate, Tren de Aragua, whose sources in Chicago told the Post are heavily armed, brazen, and spilling into areas of the South Side. Those areas are traditionally controlled by hundreds of entrenched gangs, from the gangster disciples and Black P. Stones to the Vice Lords, Latin Kings, and Satan disciples. TDA members flashing gang signs and wearing their uniforms of choice, Chicago Bulls t-shirts, and caps could be seen outside the Standard Cap migrant shelter downtown, where two local Chicago police officers told the Post they were trying to encroach on a local gang's drug-dealing corner in our A17-11 store. Standard Club employees told the Post that there hadn't been any crime in the shelter and denied the presence of Venezuelan gangs. But Terry Newsom, a white Chicago dad turned activist, found there are 720 police incident reports logged at the Standard Club alone over the past 12 months. He's teamed up with Muhammad and others concerned with migrant crime to make dozens of Freedom of Information Act requests to find out what's really going on. Newsom showed the Post police reports indicating sex trafficking, child porn, drugs, carjackings, weapons, and excessive spousal violence have occurred at 4 downtown shelters alone. A DEA gang member was released by a Chicago judge despite a request from Immigration and Customs Enforcement to detain him. Just a month before, he was charged in a violent jewelry store heist in Denver and not far from Aurora, Colorado, where members of the gang have reportedly taken over apartment buildings. Earlier this month, Chicago cops were called to a building on the south side where 32 armed Venezuelan migrants were said to be showing their weapons. Numerous residents on the gritty, run-down south side interviewed the Post during the course of a week, including young hardcore gang members the elder gangsters called the Millennials, and said they're angry and frustrated about being overruled by city officials who they say favor the migrants. The real issue is that America has allowed gangs to enter our country, said a young Gangster Disciples member, David, standing on a high-volume drug-dealing corner near Martin Luther King Boulevard. Gangs that they would consider ex-terrorist groups, they let terrorist groups into our country, he yelled allegedly to the Post. There's been a lot going on with the migrant gangs that nobody's even been hearing about, Zach Massey, 27, a street leader who first went to prison in 2015 and just recently got out. They be moving in our own territory and robbing people, but they don't get arrested like we do. I actually talked to one on the Translator app. He told me all the things he got going on, how they helped him get a car, an apartment, EBT card, all this stuff. They giving them thousands, we get maybe $400 a month, and they don't even have social security numbers. Black P. Stone member Corey Rogers took the Post on a drive through the area and pointed out several occasions where he said Venezuelan gangs have been showing the flag, meaning brandishing their weapons. He also showed a reporter a gang WhatsApp thread with texts from gang members threatening turf wars with Venezuelans. What bothers me is that the Venezuelans are united, Rogers said. The black gangs are too divided and they take each other down. Rogers, Fred, and Boss, and what they call an organization, Charles Harris 55, gestured to an area 2 blocks from where he was standing in the Woodlawn section. It's too violent down here, but it's calmed down a lot. Harris said, gesturing to the west. Back in the day, we get shot if we went over there. It's almost down a lot. It's calmed down a lot. The last thing we need are the Venezuelans. Muhammad, who was once the enforcer of Larry Hoover, head of the Gangster Disciples street gang, formed a group called Ex-Cons for Trump because he feels that Democrats have failed inner-city black people for too long. I mean, that is correct. Again, I say this multiple times before, guys, is that the Democrats only want the blacks' votes, and as long as they get them, they really just don't care what happened to the black people, hence why they don't mind having Venezuelan migrants come in and take over black people's jobs and stuff like that. And that's the real issue that we're facing here. And again, this is just all part of the course. Again, when the next video that I show you is going to show you to why more than ever to actually vote for Trump, because considering the fact that our country will will probably be in World War III, and then add the fact that that we'll have gangs all over our country, all over the place, where they are taking over, and we have to fight, not only do we have to fight, like, gangs and illegal migrants and stuff like that in our own country, but we're also going to have to fight off a war, which we will all should be drafted to, for another war that's been going on. That's insane. So, this is all starting to see what's going on here, and if you don't think that voting differently is correct, then I have a horrible thing to tell you. It's not so much Trump himself, it's that the Democrats are shutting us down the river, he said. The bougie, upwardly capable blacks might like Kamala, but she isn't going to do anything for us. So yeah, this is what's going on here. This is what's been going on at the, at Chicago, where it's going to end up happening. People are going to get attacked, this is going to be bloody murder, it's going to be death, and I don't see to where it's going to be going good, right? again, it says 412 people have been murdered in Chicago so far in 2024. But she said less, not more, is being done to curb black-on-black violence. I can't even reach nobody at City Hall or anywhere else that cares, Mitchell said. They care about the migrants, but they don't care about people like us whose roots are here. We matter, you know. The Chicago mayor's office did not return an email to the Post. Of course not, because he's not going to address the actual elephant in the room. Like, he's not going to address some of the things that are being said here. Like, it's insane to me that we have these things going on, and it's just, the Democrats are just going to avoid it, right? The Democrats are going to avoid it like the plague, and there's nothing that we can really do about it. That's just the reality of it all. So, guys, I think we know what's going on. Chicago is about to be a real, literal death zone, and we'll see how it goes, guys. We'll see how it goes. I mean, it's not looking good, at least for people in Chicago. Colorado is a different story. I don't know how bad their gangs are there, but I know Colorado's no joke. I know that it's been notoriously bad. So if you had gangs and Venezuelan illegal migrant gangs just coming in, it doesn't spell good, guys. It doesn't spell good. All right, guys, that's it for the video. Like, subscribe, share. As always, take care, my friends.
I'm disgusted by what I see in public. Even people closest to us can't be trusted. This is algorithmic disease, the social media.